All right, so we're gonna do the bodysuit now. So I've given you grade rule numbers already, okay? And we have our grade table that we've saved and named, and we have rules 11 through 21. So now we're doing rules 2 through 10, okay? So as usual, the easiest thing for us to figure out first are our body circumference movements. So we have bust, waist, and hip circumference, okay? Oh, sorry, I just realized this. Waist circumference. Okay, so we have waist at a placement, we have bust, and we have hip, okay? So if I do my same thing where I copy this, paste it here, take out my base size, then I'm gonna get my grade movements, okay? So I have a 2-inch grade again, so similar to my pant, which makes sense. So in this case though, I have a 2-inch grade around the circumference, but I now only have 4 panels, right? Instead of 8, 4 panels plus 2 edges, because I'm only grading at my side seam. So I'm going to do 2 divided by 4 is a 1/2 inch, okay? So I'm going to change this to 1/2 inch, right? So our smaller sizes are going down, which is negative. So I'm going to do -1/2, -1/2, +1/2, +1/2, okay? So this will go for our bust, waist, and our hip, okay? So this is our Y movements, okay? Pretty self-explanatory. And we'll have 0 at our center front, center back, okay? So next, we have those figured out. Let's do our necks, okay? So our neck width is grading 1/4 inch, our front neck drop is grading 1/4 inch, and our back neck drop is grading 1/8. So if our neck width is grading 1/4 and I have 2 edges, each edge is going to grade 1/8 inch. So in the Y direction, my 3, actually let's just pull this, okay? So in this case, my smaller sizes are coming in towards center front, which is negative, okay? So I'm going to make these negative, and my positive sizes are, my larger sizes are going outside of, away from center front, which is in the positive direction, okay? Let's see what did I give for a shoulder? I didn't give a shoulder, okay. So oftentimes with straps, things with straps, we tend to grade the neck and the shoulder the same, so the strap width stays the same for all sizes. So we're going to do the same thing here. So we'll take this same Y grade at both of these points, 3 and 4, and we'll move them in the same direction, okay, by the same amount. All right. So that is our neck width, our front neck drop. So before we can figure out our front neck drops, we need to figure out our length, right? Because sometimes if we're going to be grading our high point shoulder up or down, we need to know that before we can figure out what this front neck drop movement will be, okay? So we have to kind of look at this as a whole in parts. So my back length and front length from high point shoulder to crotch is grading 1 inch per size, okay? I then have a crotch depth spec for front and back, and these are grading, whoops, okay. These are grading 1/2 inch, okay? So that is from the hip position. This is essentially the X distance from the hip position to the crotch point, okay? So this is grading 1/2 inch. This is grading 3/8, this is, okay, sorry. So this distance is grading 1/2 inch. my whole length here is grading an inch, okay? So my other half has to be taken up in this half of the body, all right? I'm not going to add all of my half to my shoulder because my side seam needs to grade a little bit, right? So I'm going to look at my waist position. So my waist placement is grading a 1/2 inch per size, okay? Which means this line from high point shoulder is grading a 1/2 inch, okay? So what I'm going to do, this is a decision that I'm making for us all, is I'm going to add 3/8 grade to my shoulder here. Okay, so that means my armhole is going to get that much taller. And I'm going to then we'll have to move this line 1/8 of an inch to get my 1/2 inch grade from this point to this point, right? Because this will be 3/8, this will be 1/8, and together we have a 1/2 inch grade, which then means this point will be moving down 1/8 of an inch as well, which means this point now has to move the 1/2 inch plus the 1/8 of an inch, right? This distance has to stay a 1/2 inch. So if this hip point is moving 1/8 of an inch per size, then this point now has to grade a 5/8 of an inch. So now I have a 5/8 inch grade here and a 3/8 inch grade here, and all of this together equals a total length grade of 1 inch. Okay, so I know that's a lot, but that's why we're doing this together. Okay, so I'm going to take an X grade here. Okay, so I'm going to do 3/8 in the X direction for both my 3 and 4, my 3 and 4 grades. Okay, so my smaller sizes are moving this way in towards the body, which is actually the positive direction. So I'm going to do positive for my smaller sizes and then negative for my larger sizes. Okay, so that's moving 3/8 of an inch. Then I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it down here. Okay, and this is now going to be negative 5/8. Negative 5/8. This will be a positive 5/8. Oops. This will be a positive 5/8. Okay. All right. So then I had put an 1/8 of an inch grade here, right? So if my waist placement is grading a 1/2 inch from high point shoulder, and I'm getting 3/8 here, then I need an 1/8 of an inch grade at my waist, but in the opposite direction of this. Okay, so I'm going to do negative 1/8, negative 1/8, positive 1/8, positive 1/8. Okay, does that make sense? So I need this placement to be 1/2 inch different from here. So for example, if I look at my large, I'm growing out 3/8 of an inch. Okay, so right now, if I do nothing to this line, it will be 3/8 of an inch further from the high point shoulder for the size large. So if I go 1/8 of an inch further this way, I just realized I think I've flip-flopped. No, that's right. Okay. I need to go 1/8 of an inch further this way, right? So I have 3/8 this way plus 1/8 of an inch this way is a total of a 1/2 inch difference. Okay. I'm going to put that same X rule over here on my 7. Okay. And my bust is going to stay where it is with a 0 grade. Okay. All right. Okay. So I have my 1/8 here, I have my 3/8 here, got my 5/8 here, so my difference between 7 and 8 vertically or horizontally is a 1/2 inch, right? So 5/8 minus 1/8 is a 1/2 inch. Okay, so my front neck drop, again, so I have 3/8 of an inch this way, right? Growing and shrinking at the shoulder. and I want my front neck drop to grade 1/4. So I need to take 3/8 minus 1/4, and that gives me 1/8 of an inch, right? Okay, so I'm going to take my 1/8 of an inch, okay, and I want this to move in the same direction as my shoulder, right? So if my large is growing outside of my piece 3/8 of an inch, if I do nothing to my front neck drop is getting 3/8 of an inch lower. It'll be 3/8 of an inch lower from the high point shoulder because my high point shoulder is moving up 3/8, okay? But I only want it to change 1/4, so then I also need to move my front neck drop 1/8 of an inch in the same direction to give me the difference of 1/4, okay? You'll do the same for your back, but it will be, you'll grade it 1/4 of an inch, right? So you'll have 3/8 here, and you'll grade this 1/4 of an inch so that your difference is 1/8, which is the back neck drop grade, okay? All right, let's see, this needs an X grade here. So you'll notice on the front, so with bodysuits and swimsuits, you often have the crotch seam rolls backwards, but you have your kind of narrowest part of your crotch on your front piece. So we're just going to make sure that we have a grade point, the same grade point 8 at this point to maintain that shape, okay? And I believe that's everything. We have lengths, necks, front neck drops, circumferences. The crotch width doesn't grade, so there's going to be no Y grade for 8. And then you're going to do the same thing for your back. So again, you're going to take these X and Y values and you're going to enter them into your rule table here. Okay, and then you will apply your grade rules. You're going to apply this grade rule table to both of your patterns. Okay, you can bring both of your patterns into the same model just to make everything easier. Label it 2405. Assign the rule table that you've created with your initials, okay? And start assigning your rules based on the schematic, okay? So, and then what I'll ask you to do is, in my previous video on how to create rule tables, I talked a lot about ways to notice that there's an issue and ways to fix it. So if you flipped positive and negatives, how to find that, how to fix it if you see it. Please make sure your pieces are oriented in the correct way. They should be oriented in this way that you've drawn them because you've worked out your positive and negatives in this orientation. So the rules will work only if they are situated here correctly. And then lastly, you're going to have to grade your pocket pieces, okay? And then we will, later, we will grade the placement of the pockets on your pants as well.